Hello and welcome to another episode. I am Brian, the Unskilled Commander, and this is match 3 of my brand new decks. We've got Energy, we've got Mono Green Slivers, Baitor, and all flyers. Thanks for checking out the episode. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Go check out all my social medias so that you can see when I post new content, and also make sure you're checking out my Twitch where I do charity streams throughout the year for Extra Life. I have a lot of really amazing guests on, other creators playing Commander throughout to raise money, and you can check out when those go live by following on social media. So this is the third and final match of these brand new decks. I'm doing it old school where I would play all 4 decks myself. As I said prior video, I'm not doing this every week. This is just going to be when I make 4 brand new decks. I'll play them like this. 3 matches, see how they do and if they can be improved. If you see any ideas to make them better, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear them. So jumping into the game, as always, we've gone past the first 4 turns just so you don't see play a land and passes. I'll go over any cards I did play as we get to them. Starting turn 5 over here on Energy, all we did was play a Soul Ring, a bunch of lands, and we actually played quite a few spells of like draw and ramp. So we did get 4 energy going, but that's it. So untapping on turn 5, drawing for turn, I'll play an island, 1 of each color, +1 to play Saheeli, Radiant Creator, a 4/4 that whenever you cast an Artificer or Artifact card, you gain an energy, and then at the beginning of combat, you may pay 3 energy to create a token copy of any permanent you control, but it is a 5/5 Artifact creature with haste in addition to its other types. Then it gets exiled at the beginning of your end step. I still have 4 mana, so I will tap that to play Aetherworks Marvel. That is a artifact, so I get an energy, and I believe we've seen that in 2 of the 3 games now, but whatever. It says whenever a permanent you control is put into a graveyard, you get an energy, and you may tap it to pay 6 energy. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost, which is awesome, and put the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. I do need to remember that the tokens created by Saheeli, when they go to the graveyard at the end of my turn, that counts, and I can get an energy on Aetherworks Marvel. But that's all we can do right now. We're going to pass turn. Untap, upkeep, draw over here on Mono Green Slivers. We're going to play a Forest Return. All we've done over here, we cultivated, so we had a little bit of ramp, and we got Nigh the Keen-Eyed out, which is the commander, a 5/6 indestructible god that is currently not a creature because its devotion is less than 5. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and pay 3, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it in your hand, or you may put it in the graveyard. I'm going to tap 2 green to play Enduring Vitality. It is a 3/3 creature with vigilance. It says creatures you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. When it dies, it comes back as an enchantment that does the same thing. Now that that's on the field, we'll tap 4 and play Leyline of Abundance. It's an enchantment that says if it's in your opening hand, you may put it in the battlefield before the game, which it was not. But when you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green. And then you may pay 8 mana and put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So now these 2 paired together, every creature now taps for 2 green mana. Pretty awesome. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, Nigh is now online. And we have a blocker, so we might as well swing with some commander damage. They gain some life just by playing some lands, but we will go ahead and swing at you for 5 damage. Starting the smackdown early, but we will pass turn after that. Over here to Baitor, Kin to All. All we were able to do is play a Guardian Project on turn 4, so we will draw for turn. Going to play up Grasslands, comes in tapped, and we're going to keep setting up for the future. That means that we're open, but that's okay. We're going to tap 4 and play Beast Whisperer. So at least we do have a blocker, but it's still not very big. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. Now, Guardian Project, the enchantment says whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, as long as it doesn't share a name with another creature on the field or in your graveyard, you draw a card. So we get to draw a card. All we can do, we pass. Over here, with my Oops All Flyers deck, we cracked the Mirrored Landscape and we played a Command Sphere. Draw for turn. I'm going to play a Terramorphic Expanse, cracking it for a Forest, and at the same time we're going to tap 3 to play a Cultivate. So we get the Forest onto the battlefield from the Terramorphic Expanse. I will put a Island on the battlefield tapped and a Swamp into my hand. I have 3 mana left. We will tap all 3 of it for a Bonder's Ornament. So we are ramping excellently over here, but we are wide open. That's all we can do. I will pass turn. Untap, upkeep, draw. Play a Forest for turn. I'm going to tap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to play Aethertide Whale. It's a flying 6/4. When it enters, you get 6 energy. That puts us up to 11. I'm then going to tap 2 to play Royal Cartographer. It's a 1/3 that has landfall. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, you get an energy. You may tap it and pay 6 energy to draw a card. To draw 3 cards, rather. I believe that was in my hand, so I should have played that before I played the Forest. again, you gotta slow down and remember the order of the cards in your hand. Don't just, immediately drop your lands like you always do. Most people do that. There is something to be said for playing lands on the second main phase, depending on how you play the game. So you always got to take a breath, and look at the cards in your hand, even if you have a plan from before. Because things change when you draw a card. It could change your entire plan. There's nothing I can do with 1 mana. So what I'm going to do, however, is move to combat, pay 3 energy down to 8 to make a 5/5 hasty copy of the Aethertide Whale. When that copy enters, I get 6 energy. So now I'm up to 14, and I have a 5/5 flying haste. So I will send that. Who's the real threat? We're going to send it over at Slivers. Then at the beginning of my end step, it goes away. Thanks to Aetherworks Marvel, I get another energy. So we are up to 15 energy already, and this is turn 6. If I could just get out one of the creatures or artifacts that allows me to utilize all that mana or all that energy to make tokens and such, we could really be off to the races. But we'll have to see what happens. Pass turn. Untap. Upkeep and draw. I will play a forest for turn. I will tap 1 mana to play a muscle sliver. All slivers get +1/+1. I will then tap 4 because they cost 1 less for brood sliver. It's a 3/3. Whenever a sliver deals combat damage to a player, its controller may make a 1/1 colorless sliver creature token. That leaves me with 2 mana. However, I can tap these 2 creatures, which would give me a total of 6 mana if I wanted. But there's really nothing I can use that 6 mana for. I think we are going to go to combat. Well, we have to go through combat, but we're going to send Nigh this time at you because it ramped out a ton. So you're going to be able to play your commander and probably some other stuff. And since this is the third matchup of these decks, everybody knows that's a flyers only deck. Slivers don't have very many flyers, so we want to make sure we're knocking them down as much as we can early too. That's all we can do. We'll pass turn. Untap, upkeep, draw. Play a swamp for turn. I'm going to tap and sacrifice the grasslands to search for a forest or plains card, put it in the battlefield tapped. So I'm going to get Indotha Triome on the battlefield tapped. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to play Railway Brawler. This is a great card for this deck or any kind of big stompy deck that you may have. So first of all, I'm going to draw a card off of Guardian Project, and then I'm going to draw a card off of Beast Whisperer. Railway Brawler is a 5/5 with reach and trample, so that's great against the flyers. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is its power. I made sure to play these in this order, so when I play Baitor, it's going to come in with 5 counters on it, helping for those toughness triggers. Do I want to go swinging? I'm tempted to swing in on the flyers with my little 2/3, and it's just a 2/3. It's not as much of an insult. And again, we know they have flyers and they've got a lot of mana. They can drop 2 creatures next turn or their commander and something else. And once the flyers hit, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So I think I will hit them for 2 and then pass turn. All right, so now over here, my flyers have been smacked around. We're starting to get a little annoyed. We're going to untap, upkeep, draw, play a swamp for turn. 1, 2, 3 for a chromatic lantern. Now, not only does it tap for a mana, but now my lands tap for any color I want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Vorosh the Hunter, a flying 6/6. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may pay green and 2 others. If you do, put 6 +1/+1 counters on Vorosh. The deck is not built around that. It's not meant to be a commander damage deck, but in the event that other things don't go well and that's all I can get out and start trying to play that, it's a great way to deal some big damage. I have 2 mana left. Not really anything I can do with that, so we will pass turn. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. Play an island. Tapping 4 for Thran Dynamo. Tap Thran Dynamo for 3 and a blue. Well, first of all, I get an energy off of the artifact entry. Now I play Bespoke Battle Wagon, which is also an artifact, so I get another energy up to 17. It's a vehicle, 5/6, so I can pay energy to make it a creature or crew it, and I can tap it to get 2 energy, tap it and pay 2 energy to tap another creature down, and tap it to pay 3 energy and draw a card. Okay, so then I'm going to tap 3, with one of them being red, to play Wheel of Potential. I'm going to get 3 energy up to 20. Then I may pay X energy. Each player may exile their hand and draw X cards. If X is 7 or more, I can play cards that I own that were exiled. I'm going to just simply pay 3 energy, down to 17 again, exiling the only counterspell I have in this deck, I think, but I'm going to draw 3. 1, 2, and 3. Honestly, I don't believe anybody else would take advantage of that. Everyone else has some key cards in their hands right now. They're not going to want to get rid of them. 2 mana up. Now, I did not play a land, so I will play the land I drew. It's going to come in tapped, but I am going to get an energy off of the Cartographer. Then I will tap 2 to play a Rampant Growth. Search my library for a basic, put it on the battlefield, tapped, and then shuffle. So that means I will get another energy up to 19. Got a mountain on the battlefield tapped. So now we're going to move to the beginning of combat, use 3 energy down to 16 to make another copy of the Aether Whale, Aether Tide Whale, but then we get 6, so we back up to 19, up to 22, and now we have a 5/5 hasty flyer that we can send somewhere. The question is where? It would be foolish to send it into Voroshi, just block and kill it. So I think we're going to want to send it over there, because they've set up very well. They're going to draw a bunch of cards every time they play a creature, and the creatures are going to come in with counters. So we're going to swing it over at you. So they are down to 32. Nothing else I can really do. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. Why not we get some cards? I will tap this and pay 6 energy, back down to 16, and draw 3 cards. Okay, that's good because 2 of them were lands, so that helps speed that up. Then we will move to our end step. We're going to get 1 energy off of when the copy of Aether Tide Whale leaves the battlefield. So that's all we can do here. We're going to pass. Now, energy is doing well, but it's not doing a lot, if that makes sense, because it's doing a lot of stuff, making crap tons of energy, but I'm not really making anything with it, and it's not benefiting anything just yet. So over here, we untap, upkeep, and draw. Gonna play a forest return, tap that forest to play a mana weft sliver. It's a 1/1. It says slivers I control can tap for 1 mana of any color. There's not really much we can do. We have some good cards in hand, just only have 2 cards left in my hand, but okay, that's something we can probably do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and tap this for 8, 9 to activate Leyline of Abundance ability, putting a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Okay, so that's not bad. Definitely like to see them getting bigger, because most of these slivers are small. They're like 1/1s or 2/2s or 1/2s or whatever. So you need some of the buff slivers out in order to make the deck a threat. Yes, I've got a bunch of stuff out, but if I swung them, they would just get chump blocked and destroyed. Okay, so Nylea is now a 6/7 indestructible. I definitely think it's smart to send that somewhere. Again, the question is where. I'm tempted to send it here because, again, we're going to start getting flyers. I have no flyers here. They have a flyer. They're about to get a flyer with their commander. So the flying is my weakness as the mono-green slivers deck. However, they do have the highest life. They're certainly not going to block with their commander. They would have to block with the whale, which this would then destroy the whale, which they're not going to do, which means they would take the damage. So I think we will, in fact, send it there. 6 commander, you. Now, everyone's pretty much around the same life totals. Again, like I said, there's nothing we can do right now. We're going to pass turn. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. Going to play a Reliquary Tower because that's definitely important in this deck, especially with all this card draw that's about to start happening. And darn it, as much as I really want to play the commander, the smarter move, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to play Asceticism. Creatures you control can't be the targets of spells or abilities your opponents control. So now my board state is a little more secure unless someone plays a board wipe that doesn't target. I have 2 mana up. There's nothing I can do with that, unfortunately. So now we have to wait another turn before we can really start to do some stuff. But that's okay. That protection is really important, especially for a creature-heavy deck. So we're going to pass turn. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. I will play Bajuka Bog and get rid of someone's graveyard. We'll get rid of your graveyard because you have the most. So that is exiled. So now, if we want to take advantage of his ability, we need these 3 mana open, which leaves us still with quite a bit. 9 mana to do things. Oh, we're oh gosh. Things are about to get real. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Elbrus the Binding Blade. It is a legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+0. And when equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, unattach Elbrus the Binding Blade and transform it. So we're going to go ahead and tap 1 to equip it to our commander. Heck yeah. So now we have a 7/6 flyer, and we want to connect because we definitely want that effect to trigger. You do have a lot of stuff with counters. You still don't have your commander out, and you're building a decent board state and prepping, but I think we need to be concerned with this. Well, it's tricky because both cards in the hand over there could do a lot of damage on the next turn, but nobody else knows that, and I don't want to I'm going to attack them now because of that. Playing a game like this as playing all 4, I got to step back and try and make sure I'm really doing what the character would do in an actual game. But you know what? They do have the most life. Again, not the threat just yet. Doing some stuff, but not completely the threat. No one's truly a threat yet, but I think we're gonna swing at you. So that is 7 commander damage to you, and more importantly, we're gonna pay the 3. So you're gonna get 6 counters on you. You are now a 12/12, and we unequip this and transform it. Withengard Unbound, a flying, intimidate, trample 13/13 that says when a player loses the game, put 13 +1/+1 counters on Unbound. Crazy and awesome. I love this card. Very rarely do I get to actually see it go off. I got it to do it in a game with friends recently, but it of course got immediately blown up, which was justifiable. But that's all we can do with it. We're going to pass turn. Now everyone can sell thou they are the threat, because they have a flying trample 13/13 and a 12/12 flyer commander. So everyone needs to start ganging up on them basically if they want to survive. We untap, we upkeep, we draw. We'll tap 3 for a midnight clock. It's an artifact. We gain a energy. I'm going to play an Evolving Wilds. I get an energy from playing a land, and then I will crack it and get another energy to go get an actual land. Got a basic land on the battlefield tapped. Then I will tap 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3 green to play Aetherwind Basker, a 7/7 trample lizard. When it enters or attacks, I get an energy, so now we're up to 21. And I can pay an energy. That creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So I could literally dump all of that and make it a 28/28 with trample. But of course it doesn't have haste, so it cannot go right now. And I believe I missed a energy when the midnight clock came in, because that is an artifact. We're totally going to pay 6 to draw 3 cards, down to 16 energy, down and drawing 3 cards. All right, we're going to tap 6 mana to play the Aether Refinery. That is an artifact. I get an energy. It says if I would get an energy, I get twice that many. I can tap it to get an energy, then you may pay 1 or more energy. If you do, you make an XX black Aetherborn creature, where X is the amount of energy paid into it this way. So I think what we'll start by doing is tapping the Bespoke Battle Wagon to get 2 energy, which is doubled to 4, getting us back up to 21. Now, I would consider using Aether Refinery's ability if I didn't have the Basker out, because that's just the better bet. Next turn, when that is able to attack, just dump all of the energy into it and swing for massive damage, as opposed to using most of it to make a 20/20 creature that does not have trample. Actually, though, the smart thing is I am going to tap it to make an energy, which is 2, putting me up to 23. I am going to not pay the extra part of the ability, because I will then move to combat using the 3 energy for Saheeli's ability to make a copy. Oh, there you go. That's smart. To make a copy of the Basker. Now, I won't get the energy buff the way I would with the whale, but the copy of the Aetherwind Basker is going to be a 5/5 with haste and trample and the ability. So now, hey, guess what, Mr. Big Scary? I'm going to send the 5/5 trample at you and use all 20 energy to buff it. So now it's a 25/25 trample coming at you. You could take that and be down to 8 life, but then you'd have to deal with everybody else as well. If I blocked with the Unbound, 12 damage would get through. I think that's the way to go. We're going to block, dropping down to 21 health, and we are wide open over there. Move to the end step. That token goes away. We get a single energy, 2 energy actually, because the refinery doubles them. And there we go. And we're still poised for next turn because we have a few ways to make some energy next turn. It won't be nearly as much, but we can still dump it into the Basker, or the better Basker, the one that's already higher, and do some solid damage to someone as well. We're going to then pass turn. I just put a counter on the midnight clock simply because at each upkeep, it gets a time counter on it, basically, whatever it says, a hour counter, and I'm just doing it now so I don't forget. So over here, we're going to untap, upkeep, and draw. There's 2 ways we can do this. We could go one more round of just holding back, tapping into Leyline's ability to give everyone a counter, and then doing the big bomb spell on the next turn if we survive, if everything's all right. But we are at 28 life. We are the second lowest. No one's really paying attention, but they are clearly now the threat because they have the ability to, they have a flyer, they have tramples, they can buff up the tramples. It's now a concern. So I don't think anyone's really going to focus on me too much. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and tap 8, all of our mana, to put another counter on each of our creatures. And to give you a little insight as to why I'm doing that, I have a Craterhoof Behemoth in my hand. But I would only have 6 creatures, so everything would only get +6/+6 and trample. So I need them to be a little stronger for it to be an actual potential to take out the board. So we do that. Everyone takes notice. I mean, that's still important. But we're not even going to attack. They are open. People might, if this were a real game, people might be trying to get us to attack and take them out. Like, you got more than enough. Take them out. Oh, yeah, and leave myself open. I'm not going to do that. I was like, yeah, but you can do a little bit and blah, blah, blah. But I think we're just going to, well, they have a current 12/12 commander. That is not enough to take us out with commander damage. It won't get the rest of the counters unless it connects. We're the only person that doesn't have a flyer, though, so they would send it at us to get those counters. And then that would be 12. Oh, okay, that is a very good point. We have, wait a second. Do we have, yeah, it can't be from them because we haven't played the commander and she doesn't swing. So this 7 damage is obviously from Vorosh because they attacked us to get the Unbound trigger. So if they swung again with 12, that would put us at 19 commander damage. So we could hit it. We could take the hit. We could take them out if we swung. We have 23 damage on board. They're at 21 life. We could take them out. However, then we, again, like I said, we would be wide open. They would most likely be coming at us next, but we might be able to survive. I think that's probably the smartest play. I think we're going to go to combat and we're just going to take you out. Boom. Kaboosh. They're going to be like, no, why'd you do that? I can help. No, whatever. I don't need your help. So we pass turn. We see what happens. This is, it's going to be interesting. Untap, upkeep, draw. Bountiful Promenade. We do still have 2 or more opponents. So it comes in untapped. Green, black, white, and 2 others to finally play Baitor Kin to All, a 5/7 flyer at the beginning of your end step. If total toughness of the creatures you control is 10, you draw a card. Then if it's 20, you untap all your creatures. Then if it's 40, each opponent loses half their life, rounded up. But thanks to Railway Brawler, it comes in with 5+1/+1 counters on it. I have 3 mana left, so I'm going to go ahead and tap that for a Dryad of the Elysian Grove. So I can play an additional land on each of my turns, which I will now play a forest. And lands are every basic land type in addition to their others. So it just helps mana fix, basically, for me. And that will actually get 2 counters on it because it comes in thanks to Railway Brawler. So it's a little tougher as well. And it's all about the toughness because it's a 2/4 bigger booty, as it were, to help those end step triggers. Now, I played 2 creatures. I'm going to draw 4 cards. I have Reliquary Tower out, which is great, so I don't have to worry about discarding down. Now let's do some math. So currently our toughness is 26. That only is the first 2 triggers. Again, I'm not going to swing. These guys have Summoning Sickness anyway. We move to our end step. We get to draw a card off of Baitor, and we can untap creatures if we had them tapped, but we don't. Pass turn. All right, so this is where Energy has to try and pull it off, or else probably lose. So we untap, upkeep, draw. We're going to play Carpulsian Forest. That's going to get us an energy because land entered. I'm going to tap Bespoke Battle Wagon to get a total of 4 thanks to the double. Oh, that's true, actually. I got 2 energy from the land coming in. Now I'm going to get 4 up to 8. And then I will go ahead and tap Aether Refinery to get another 2 up to 10. I will not use the second. I will choose not to do the second part of the ability. Going to go ahead and tap 5 mana with 1 colorless floating to play Panharmonicon. It's an artifact, so I'm going to get 2 energy up to 12. And that says, if an artifact or creature entering causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers an additional time. So now, if I play an artifact or an artificer, I would get 2 energy off of Saheeli as opposed to 1. But then, of course, it would double from the Aether Refinery to even more. Now, the point is, we're already back up to 12. That's not shabby, considering what we can do. We only have 2 mana up. Nothing we can do with that. Well, we can, actually. And you know what? We can get, why not? Let's do it. We're going to tap for blue, tap the forest for red, but we are going to have to take a damage from that to play Saheeli Sun's Brilliance. She is a human artificer, so that's going to trigger Saheeli. So we're going to get an energy, which is doubled by the refinery to 2, and then the Panharmonicon makes that trigger happen again, so we are going to get a total of 4 energy up to 16. Energy decks are so much fun. There's a lot of triggers to keep track of, so you got to be careful. But they go crazy, especially if you can find ways to actually use the energy, like the Basker or something like that. So now here's some shenanigans we're going to try and do. First and foremost, we need to figure out who we're attacking. Both of them are equally concerning from our perspective, but they are wide open. So the question is how much damage can we do? Because here's what I'm thinking. When we go to combat, we use Saheeli's ability, using 3 energy, to make a copy of the Aethertide Whale, which would get us 6. So then we would have a total of 19 energy to feed into the Basker as it attacked. And we would also have a 5/5 flying attacker as well. That should be enough to take out Slivers. Yeah, because the Basker would be 26, and then the 5/5 flyer would put us well above the 28 life that they have. So that's what we're doing. We go to combat, we go down to 13, we make a copy of the whale, which puts us up to 19. We swing the Basker and the whale copy at you, using all 19 onto the Aetherwind Basker. So actually, we don't have to use all 19, we can use 17 of it down to 2, just to give ourselves a little something for next time. So 17 onto the 7/7, which would be 24, plus the 5, 29, more than enough. Boom. They have nothing that they can, no mana up that they can use. They are donezo. And like I said, we had that Crater Hoof. They would have been able to probably sweep it next turn. So that's Sucks for them, but that was a good play. Now the question is, can Saheeli actually hold out long enough to win? They both have 32 life, so this is still a fair matchup here. We move to end step. The copy leaves. We get an energy which is doubled to 2, so we get a total of 4 energy, or we have a total of 4 energy. Pass turn. All right, we untap, upkeep, draw for turn. Just moving some mana around to see what exactly I can do. That's going to be enough. So I'm going to tap 4 to play one of the key cards of this deck, the Monster Manual. It has an adventure side that we don't really care about. The real part is the 4-drop, which says you can tap a green and one other, and then tap the Monster Manual to put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. You just put it on. No casting, so it doesn't get cast triggers, but you can sneak in a huge mana value creature for 2 mana, which I will then do. I will tap a green and one other, tapping the Monster Manual to cheat in Quilled Great Worm. And the Railway Brawler says when another creature enters the battlefield, not cast, so it is going to come in with 7+1/+1 counters. So it is a 14/14 trample. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage during your turn, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. You may cast this card from your graveyard by removing 6 counters from stuff and do things. I'm playing a creature, so I'm going to draw 2 cards. Darn, still no land. That would have been a nice little addition there. Now I only have 3 mana left, and that is key mana because I have a Teferi's Protection in my hand. This is the only thing with Summoning Sickness. However, the only thing that can really go is Baitor. And it doesn't have Trample. It has Flying, and they have a Flying blocker. However, it boils down to the game. It's like, well, it's going to be 10 commander, but if you lose your Aethertide Whale, you lose your flyer, and you lose that ability to pay 3 to get 6 to feed into the Trampley Basque. So it's one of those things where the energy player has to really debate on what's more important, keeping that 10 life or keeping the creature that can help them get a little bit extra damage in. So we move to combat and we swing. 10 commander in the air at you. Again, this 6 is no longer relevant because that was from a different commander. Because this is the second time we've swung Baitor. And of course, if they do get through with Baitor, then the Great Worm trigger will happen, and they'll get 10 counters on it, make it even more devastating for next turn. However, thankfully it doesn't have trample, so they can still just chump block if they were to find another flyer somewhere in their deck. But the point is now Baitor's player no longer has flying blockers, so another reason to keep that up. So I think they're just going to take the 10 down to 22 life. Now, they of course don't know we have the Teferi's Protection, so 10 counters are going to get put on here. Baitor's power is now 20. And they do have to remember about the Baitor's final thing, because what's going to happen is we're going to move to our end step. The toughness on board is 50. So, I literally did forget about the second. I'm always concerned about the draw card and have people's lives. I always forget that 20 toughness or more untaps your creatures like Vigilance. So they do have a flying blocker now. We get to draw a card, and more importantly, your opponents lose half their life rounded up. So there you go. They are at 11 health. Very unlikely that they're going to win, especially considering what we know that is in that hand. But over here, we untap, upkeep. Yes, I almost forgot, because I did forget this last time. This would have gone up another round to 8 and now it would be 12, so it would in fact activate. So we exile the Midnight Clock. You shuffle your hand and graveyard into your library, then draw 7 cards. So I'm going to play a land, Overflowing Basin. That's going to give me 2 energy. Now the cool thing is we got so much mana over here, so we're going to tap 5 and then 6 to play Behemoth Vault. Behemoth of Vault 0. So I'm casting an artifact. I'm going to get 2 energy off of Saheeli, but the Panharmonicon makes that double, so I'm going to get 4 up to 10. And when Behemoth of Vault 0 enters, you get 4 energy, so that means I'm going to get another 8 up to 18. Look at how fast this goes up. It's amazing. And when it dies, you can pay energy to do stuff, which is irrelevant right now. Okay, I'm going to then tap 7 to cast Aether Squall Ancient. It is a flying 6/6 Leviathan. At the beginning of your upkeep, you get 3 energy, and you may pay 8 to return all other creatures to their owner's hands, activate as a sorcery. So that means I could pay right now and bounce everybody's creatures to their hands, including my own, which would be foolish right at this moment. But that could be a good idea for, end step, or second main phase, rather. And what's really funny is off of that draw, I got something that's going to change the game, which is very, very funny. We're going to tap for Bespoke Battle Wagon, getting 4 more energy up to 22. Going to tap Aether Refinery to get another 2. Up to 24, that is. Okay. So here's the thing. I have a Disallow in my hand, which would counter their Teferi's Protection. I don't know they have that. I don't know they're gearing up to play that. Yes, they have 3 mana open clearly, and we can see what it is. We see there's a white in there, but that doesn't mean anything. We don't, okay, it could be something, it could be anything. Who knows? And they do have a lot of cards in hand, so the fact that they didn't play something is telling. However, they might just have a ton of big creatures because we know they play big creatures. I also have a Rogue Refiner in my hand, which is a 3-drop. I cannot play both. The Rogue Refiner says when it enters, you draw a card and you get 2 energy. So I would draw a card and get 4 energy, going up to 28. My mind, that's more energy for the final hit. I believe I would probably do that, especially me. I would definitely do that. A normal player, maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they're like, oh, it's too risky. And it is. It makes sense. And it's good to think of this now to be like, okay. However, now let's try and be a intelligent player and think about what we are able to do. If we do what we've done, so we pay 3 down to 21 to make a copy of the whale, which would then give us 6 up to 27. We would swing both whales and the Basker at them. They have 1 flyer that is a 20-something. If we paid all of that energy, which would be, like I said, 27. So we're going to do that. So it's going to go up to 27. 27 and 7 would be 34 damage. They are only at 32 life, and that's trample. They would have to stack block against the Basker to stop it. And we have a 5/5 and a 6/4 flyer also. We could ignore those and use all of our creatures to block the Bask and probably kill it because we have a 25/25 or a 20/20 off the bat with our commander. Then we could also block with the little guys that don't really matter, we would want to do that, and maybe the Great Worm, which would sacrifice the Great Worm, which isn't great, no pun intended, but, it would kill the Basker, which is obviously the biggest threat on this board. So that being said, we really don't need more energy, because that would be 27. Well, sorry. So that would only be 27. So if everyone's doing the math at the table, like the other 2 players are helping out, like, well, blah, 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 you gotta be like, no, let me do this myself. Think about it. 34 damage would be coming at them. They would have to block with everything in order for them to stop it. If I played the Refiner, that would make the energy another 4, 38, which I believe is what they said. 20. Basically what that means is they would take out the Basker and I would take out every single one of their creatures and get 11 damage through the air. So they would have to recast using all of the mana or most of the mana to recast their commander. If they're lucky, they might have, they recast the commander and have enough to use the monster manual to bring in another big creature if they have it, but they wouldn't be able to attack. They would be down. I mean, I'm trying to think. It's like, well, would that be the most? Because you still, there's no way to take them out on this turn. But I just don't want to play into the Teferi's Protection and go tee-hee, because I know it's there. I really want to do what would be the best move and what I would do in a real situation. Although I have to admit, this is great learning for me right now, but I know I would actually just play the Refiner trying to get as much energy as possible to send the most damage. Then they would Teferi's Protection, and I'd be like, no! And then they would crack back and kill me. Although I guess what it would do is do that, swing with the copy of the whale, and leave the original Aethertide whale still there so that we would have 1 flying blocker when they came back. So we could still block the giant commander, but then we have other creatures that are trample. I guess the smart thing to do is when you're this down to the wire, you keep the mana up for the counterspell. It's just, I'm overthinking it. It's just clearly that's what you should do, and I gotta start learning to do that myself. So that's what we do. We leave it there, and we do the stuff. So we move, we go down, we make a copy of the whale, we go back up to the 27, like I said. We swing this and the copy over at them. We dump all of the mana, all the energy into it, making it a 34/34 with trample, and a 5/5 flyer coming your way. In response, you tap that mana to use Teferi's Protection. We say, oh no. In response, we disallow. Counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. Then they're like, oh shoot, so let me go see what they got. So we try and use the Teferi's Protection. That's all the mana we have open. Okay, well, that's true, but you gotta do it. So we block the 5/5 with the Railway Brawler. Unfortunately, the Railway Brawler dies, and so does the token, which would give us 2 energy from it leaving the battlefield off of that, the Aether works. And then we block your giant thing with our 20/22, which means it eats up 22 damage of the 34, meaning 12 gets through. Baitor is destroyed, costs 2 more to cast, and we are down to 20 life over here. That's all they can do. They're going to pass turn. We untap, upkeep, draw over here. We play a Radiant Grove. It comes in tap, so it's not really going to help us. But we do have a way to win, actually. It's crazy. We had it in the hand, and I forgot about it until I came back over here. So we're going to tap all 9 in Garruk's Rake. Destroy all creatures you don't control and all planeswalkers you don't control. That takes out your entire board. We swing with a 14-14 trample. Boom! You are donezo. So close. Valiant effort by Energy, but Baitor was able to do it, and Baitor did well. Didn't get as many creatures out as I'd like to see, but still, it was a beast. It was crazy. Baitor is a fantastic deck. Very easy to build, obviously. You can just toss in stuff that's either big and tramply or with a big toughness to get the abilities. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you saw some cool cards you want to use in your decks. Let me know how you would build any of these commanders, and if you've used different cards, let me know. I'd love to learn about it. Please subscribe, follow me on my other socials so you know when I post new stuff, and when I go live on Twitch to raise money for Extra Life, because it's a lot of fun, a lot of great games that way. You don't want to miss out. I will see you next time.